And ladies and gentlemen, if you have a cell phone or a pager, we would ask for you to turn it off or place it in silent mode. And welcome to those of you who are joining us digitally, virtually. At this time, we will be starting the funeral for Rabbi Leo R Wolkow, and officiating today's services will be Rabbi Ellen Dreyfus.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is not how we planned to say goodbye to Rabbi Leo Wolkow. If we had had our choice, we would not have had just a handful of us here sweltering in the 90-something degree weather, but rather there would have been hundreds of us in the sanctuary on 183rd Street, that building now known as Shir Tikva, formerly known as B'nai Yehuda Bas Shalom, formerly known as Temple B'nai Yehuda, where Leo officiated for decades, where he stood on that bima with Cantor Altman of blessed memory, on that bima that Cantor Altman built with his own hands. So I would like you to picture, those of you who are here in person and those of you who are online watching, picture yourself in that sanctuary now. And picture Leo up there on the bima if you want, or sitting in the congregation waiting to chant the Haftarah on Shabbat morning, which he loved to do after he retired. Picture that space and he who was in that space so much as we gather today. And we are indeed gathering. A word about the word virtual, because people talk about this as a virtual service or ceremony. We may not be physically proximate, but we are together. And this may be digital, but it is also real. And so we appreciate the presence of all of you, and we will remember Leo together. We begin with a psalm, Psalm number 1. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor taken the path of sinners, nor joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes. I call now upon Rabbi Karmit Harari, my successor, the Rabbi of Shir Tikva.
Death has cast its dark shadow over this family, and it has left us all deeply bereft. A voice has been stilled, a heart has been stopped, laughter has departed, and joy has fled. Gone are the warmth and the glow of a loved one's presence. The chain of love has lost a vital link. Death has taken a life which was precious. It has brought pain, loneliness, and sorrow. And yet there is so much so much that death cannot touch, so much over which it has no dominion. Death cannot rob us of our past, the years, the dreams, the experiences we shared. Death cannot take from us the love that we knew. It is woven into the tapestry of our lives. The lessons we were taught, we shall continue to cherish. We shall cling to the wisdom which lives on. We have had, we shall always possess. What we have known, we shall always hold dear. Death cannot take from us our abiding trust that God will give us strength and endure what we must. Death cannot take from us our sustaining hope that darkness will yield to light and hurt give way to healing. Death cannot take from us the comforting faith that God, every soul, is precious to God. None is ever lost. Thus, in sorrow, we thank the Lord our God for our memories and our hopes, for our trust and our faith. For these we believe need never be lost. These and so much more, death cannot take from us. At these times, we turn to the voice of our scripture, the words of the psalmist from Psalm 16. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid, ki mimini bal emot. Lachen samach libi vayagel kvodi, af besari yishkon lavetach. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift.
At this time, Helen Wolkow is going to share some thoughts with us.
Leo, he was bigger than life. He was so full of life. He was indestructible. He was the Energizer Bunny. He was the life of the party. That's how people described Leo. The Leo that touched so many lives, people's lives. The Leo that influenced so many. The Leo that was so loved by so many. Was he a saint? Hardly. Was he stubborn? Absolutely. Did he have a temper? You know it. His favorite saying was, "Me no gusta la tarea." I don't like to do my homework. And he was always late turning in his homework as well as his assignments. Fortunately, he was so intelligent, he got away with it. He was Peck's bad boy. Why did everyone I met or spoke to always ask, Is Leo behaving? But he had a charm that enabled him to get away with all his antics. He was intelligent and funny, loved children, loved what he did, and he did it well. I once told him how lucky he was to have been able to influence so many children, so many people in such a positive way. To, as one young woman said, put people on the path to Judaism, to show people what really mattered. But his influence extended beyond one generation. It extends to that generation's children and their children's children. What a lovely thing to know that you have influenced so many people for the good. We always said, life is for the living. We told people to invite us to their parties, not their funerals. And we always tried to show up for those parties, no matter where or when. Leo loved a party. Leo loved people, and people loved him back in return. He cheated death many times. He started when he was in his early 50s, and there were a myriad of diseases, heart attacks, stents, cancer, etc. And even as early as a year ago, he had cardiac arrest. But as he said, the Malach HaMavet didn't want him yet. I called him my walking miracle. He did a lot of living, no regrets. I got him to learn to love travel, and travel the world we did. And what fun and great experiences we had. How much we learned, and how much it added to our understanding of the world and other people and ourselves. It was a life well lived. Rabbi Shimon said, there are 3 crowns, the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. But the crown of a good name is greater than them all. And Leo Wolkow had a good name.
Thank you, Helen. Beautiful. We're now going to hear a short poem by Stephen Sandler, Leo's nephew.
I sound a little childish, but this is the way I remember my Uncle Leo. My Uncle Leo. My Uncle Leo is handsome and strong. My Uncle Leo is big and hairy. My Uncle Leo can sing and dance. My Uncle Leo is funny and can pinch. My Uncle Leo always has been there for me, and is the best uncle ever. My Uncle Leo will always be there for me, and is the best man in my life. My wife Shelley and I had the honor and the privilege to come to Glenwood and visit Uncle Leo and share the last best days before he passed. It was so important to let him know how much we loved him and how important he was and how he touched their lives forever. We shared so much love and laughter together during that visit, and told stories and even raised our glasses and made a toast together. My Uncle Leo was so happy that we came, he continually thanked us for coming. That's my Uncle Leo.
Now we will hear from Leo's daughter, Rachel.
Say not they die, those splendid souls, whose life is winged with purpose fine, who leave us pointed to the goals, who learn to conquer and resign. Such cannot die, they vanquish time, and fill the world with glowing light, making the human life sublime with memories of their secret might. They cannot die whose lives are part of the great life that is to be, whose hearts beat with the world's great heart and throb with its high intensity. Those souls are great, who dying gave a gift of greater life to man. Death stands abashed before the brave. They own a life death cannot ban. By Anonymous. Dad, you were present at my birth when I entered this crazy, beautiful world. And it was my honor to be present and witness your bravery and courage when you left it. I will miss you deeply, especially your frequent bouts of breaking out into song. I'll miss sending you hip t-shirts and funky socks. But most of all, I will miss hearing you call me rookies. I am your rookies and always will be. See you on the flip side one day. But for now, may you watch over me. The wind. That's good. Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot desha yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yanachaleni, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'ma'agleit tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech begetzel mavet, lo ira ra, ki ata imadi, shivtecha umin shantecha, hema yinachamuni. Ta'orech lifanai shulchan, neged sorarai, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi rivayai. Ach tov v'chesed yardefuni, kol yamei chayai, v'shavti v'veit Adonai, L'orech Yamim. Please join me in the English on the 23rd Psalm in your books. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you, Rachel. We learn in Pirkei Avot, Yehoshua ben Parachia Omer, Aseh lecha rav, ukne lecha chaver, meheve dan et kol ha'adam lechaf zechut. Yehoshua ben Parachia said, get yourself a teacher, acquire a friend for yourself, and when you judge people, give them the benefit of the doubt. Leo Wolkow was a Rav, a teacher, and became a friend to everyone he encountered. He loved to teach, whether in the classroom or at camp or on a cruise ship or from the pulpit. He delighted in parsing Hebrew verbs and explaining the origins of words and expressions, often in the middle of a sermon. He would go off track, delve into the meaning of a word and what it related to, whether on the subject or off, and sometimes get back to the original topic. But he was positively gleeful about teaching, about imparting knowledge and understanding to young and old. Nothing made him happier than students who got it, whose faces shone, who evidenced the light bulb going on over their heads after he explained something. Leo and his brother Irving grew up in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and attended public schools. He loved telling the story about his teacher at Boston Latin School, who questioned a very young Leo. What does the R in Leo R Wolkow stand for? He replied, Rachmiel, sir. That's how he used to tell him. Can you spell that? No, sir. Leo started his college career at Harvard and then transferred to the relatively new Brandeis University. He spent summers as a camp counselor at Jewish camps, particularly Camp Tel Yehuda and Camp Tevye. He and Helen met at Camp Tevye and married in 1958. At the time, Leo was a student at the New York campus of the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. He was worried about his academic standing and had overdue assignments, so he may have been the only rabbinic student to take his homework on his honeymoon. Helen undoubtedly helped him with it, or at least made it possible for him to finish it. It was the beginning of her collaboration with him in his career of choice. Before the days of HUC's Year in Israel program, Leo wanted to spend time in Israel. He and Helen led the Young Judea Year course in 1959 to 60, and 60 years later still maintain relationships with some of their kids from the trip. After ordination in 1962, Leo entered the military chaplaincy as what they called an obligated volunteer. In other words, he and his classmates were instructed to volunteer. In his 2 years in the Army, he was first stationed in Washington, D.C., working at the Pentagon, and then spent a year in Verdun, France. He stayed on in the Army Reserves for 17 years. In those days, before cell phones or faxes, it was difficult to communicate from overseas. And finding placement in a congregation right after discharge from the Army was a challenge. Fortunately, there was a small congregation on the south side of Chicago looking for a rabbi, and Leo discovered his destiny at Temple B'nai Yehuda. A rabbi doesn't stay at a congregation for decades if they don't get along. This congregation and this rabbi loved each other, nurtured each other, respected each other, and grew together. Along with strong volunteer leadership, he led them through the difficult decision to leave the teepee temple on the south side and move to Homewood. He built a community around the temple and the religious school with tremendous levels of participation by adults and children in all aspects of Jewish life and learning. He pushed hundreds of kids to go to camp and spent several weeks every summer on the faculty of Olin Sang Ruby Union Institute. Leo loved being a camp rabbi, teaching in almost every unit, distributing Tootsie Rolls with abandon, playing basketball and baseball with campers and staff, cooking up some mean omelets on Shabbat morning in the lodge, and encouraging everyone to speak Hebrew. He knew what a significant experience camp could be, so he found scholarships to enable any child from the congregation to go to Asrui. He also sent dozens of students on Israel programs with a wonderful scholarship fund devoted only to that purpose. And when the TBY kids graduated from high school, Leo didn't let go of them. He organized college visits to campuses around the Midwest where he would provide brunch or dinner and an opportunity to check in and just schmooze. To say that his influence on his students was life-changing would be an understatement. Aseh lecha rav ukneh lecha chaver. He would be their teacher and become their friend. In addition to being the Energizer rabbi, Leo had a family life. He and Helen were blessed with 3 wonderful children, Lisa, Rachel, and Jason. He was extraordinarily proud of them as growing kids and as the adults they grew to be. It is not easy being a rabbi's kid, growing up in the fishbowl with expectations of perfection and having to share your father with the whole congregation. Leo had a unique relationship with each of them, encouraging them to find their own way and to stand up for themselves. He attended many soccer games and performances and concerts and plays. If he could have yelled from the audience like he yelled from the stands at the games, his support would have been even better known. Leo was a loving brother and brother-in-law and a treasured uncle and great-uncle to many nieces and nephews. He and Helen cared about all those family relationships and made an effort to maintain them by attending as many family events as possible, regardless of the distance. I still think we took a detour to Annapolis on some of those high school Washington trips so that Leo could visit his brother. When the congregation moved to Homewood, Leo got involved with the local community on many levels. He was a founding member of the South Suburban Ministerial Association, which sponsors the Community Interfaith Thanksgiving service. That service, which still follows the model that Leo and his colleagues created in 1972, is one of the most important annual events in our community. Leo was a frequent visitor to the public schools, to teach a class if requested, or to meet with the principals or superintendents on matters of concern to the Jewish and religious community. And he was a fixture at the HF Racket and Fitness Club, playing tennis or working out, and of course, schmoozing with everyone he knew. Leo and Helen loved to travel, and they visited hundreds of places on every continent. When Leo took his 6-month sabbaticals, he often went to Israel, but also elsewhere around the world. There was one sabbatical where they went to Australia, and Leo would offer to fill in for rabbis on vacation or help out in congregations without a rabbi. He would pack up his folders of basic sermon outlines for every Torah portion and go anywhere, anytime to be the visiting rabbi. After he retired from TBY, he served a part-time position in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which I used to call his new student pulpit. And he also became a much-desired cruise ship rabbi. Wherever he went, he offered his Hebrew marathon, teaching anyone who wished to read Hebrew in 4 lessons. Aseh lecha rav u'kaneh lecha chaver. He would be their teacher and become their friend. The Central Conference of American Rabbis created a task force a few years ago to study the relationships between retired rabbis and their successors and congregations. Part of the reason the task force was created was that in many cases, that relationship is a difficult one. Leo and I used to joke that we should give a seminar on how to make it work. He certainly was a wonderful emeritus to me, welcoming me with such warmth and respect, and then getting out of the way so that I could establish myself as the rabbi of the congregation. Aseh lecha rav u'kaneh lecha chaver. He was my teacher and remained my friend. In the days since Leo's death, messages have been pouring in from all over the world, from friends and colleagues and former students. So many talked about his influence on them at the temple and at camp. They posted memories of him playing ball or smoking that awful cigar, which Helen and the doctors finally persuaded him to give up, or handing out Tootsie Rolls, or teaching them something of meaning. Aseh lecha rav u'kaneh lecha chaver. He was their teacher and became their friend. Rest in peace, dear friend, revered teacher. Your legacy lives on. May the memory of Rabbi Leo Wolkow endure among us as a blessing. In your own time, O God, when we too are called to enter eternity, may we leave this life secure in the faith that in your light we shall see light. In life and in death, we cannot go where you are not. And where you are, hope endures. Sustained by this assurance, we invoke your name, Almighty God. If you are able, would you rise for the memorial prayer? El male rachamim shochen b'meromim Amtsei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashechina Im kedoshim u'tahorim kizohar harakia mazirim Et nishmat harav Aryeh Rachmiel ben Rafael v'Rachel שהלך לעולמו על הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Rabbi Leo R Wolkow, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated.
On behalf of a grateful nation, I present to you this flag in honor and recognition of your husband's faithful service to our country. Thank you. few moments when the cemetery staff is completing the task of putting the cover of the vault in place and removing the rest of the equipment. If you'd like to come forward and participate in the burial, certainly may do so. We're asking, and for everyone's safety, we have some gloves available so that you could wear gloves so that we're not carrying our cross-contaminated shovel. Either of the shovels. The tradition, some people's tradition is to do 3 shovels or 3 measures of earth in the grave and then put the shovel back so that each person can take on that responsibility for that opportunity.
May those who mourn the loss of Rabbi Leo Wolkow find comfort in the hope that though the dust returns to the earth as it was, the spirit returns to God who gave it. Death is not the end. Those we love have passed through the gateway of the grave into the peace of life eternal. We know that all of us must tread the same path, though we know not when the hour may come. Let us so live that the coming of that hour shall find us unafraid. May our deeds do honor to the memory of our beloved, whom you have taken to yourself, O God. Trusting in your wisdom and loving kindness, we praise your name. The words of the Kaddish are on your folders. Those who are mourning, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach elutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye chon v'yomei chon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mibarach le'alam u'lamei almayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי ואישה ריבוי. לאלה מין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. May God grant peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us here and wherever they may be. And let us say, amen. I'm going to do first the Arch for the Holy Land.
Do you want to do the shovel too, or just the very? Okay. We don't need gloves for that.
Yeah, I have some.
Choose for what? Oh, that's good, because he'll fall right into it. Yeah, that would not be a good thing.
Let all who are gathered here repeat these words after me, speaking them to the mourners. May God console you
May God console you
with all who mourn
with all who mourn
in Zion and Jerusalem.
in Zion and Jerusalem.
המקום ינחם אתכם בתוך שאר אבלי ציון וירושלים. Now go forth in peace to life. This concludes the service.